All right, welcome everybody to, I guess what's the last December meeting of the Franklin Municipal Planning Commission. Freudian sleep. Okay, with that in mind, let's get started. We will start with our minutes from our November meeting. Is there a motion?
Move for approval. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion at all? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if there's items that are not on tonight's agenda that you want to, well, let me back up. Is there any comments you'd like to address to the commission that are not based on items on tonight's agenda? This is the opportunity for you to do that. Hopefully in my confusion, you understood what I was asking. So we'll, seeing none, we'll move on. Staff, is there any announcements?
Holidays.
Okay. Then with that one announcement that's a non-announcement, we'll move on to, is there anybody that wants to add an item to the agenda tonight for our consideration? If you do, if you'll come forward. All right, I see none for that. Then we'll discuss our consent agenda item. This is items that are considered non-controversial that we'll vote on in one block. Those items tonight are items 2 through 6 and 11 through 15. If anybody in the audience, staff, or commission would like to pull an item from that agenda, let me know now. If I see none, then we'll look for a motion. I see none, so do I have a motion?
Move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion on the consent agenda? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right, we will move on to our first item tonight, which is item number 7. And that is consideration of ordinance 2018-56, an ordinance to rezone 43.97 acres from agricultural to specific development SDR 3.0 for the property located north of Del Rio Pike and west of Reese Drive. Staff?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Item 7 is a rezoning request for the property at 2970 Del Rio Pike for the fields at Reese Farm into the specific development residential district. The proposed density of the rezoned property would be established at 3 units per acre. The subject property is within the conservation subdivision design concept described in Envision Franklin, and the development is proposing a mix of townhouse and single-family residential units. A special consideration within Envision Franklin supports the inclusion of townhouses within the northwest quadrant of the Macatcher Parkway between Hillsborough Road and New Highway 96, west to the edges of the urban growth boundary. A development plan for this property is the next item on our agenda for your consideration. Staff supports the rezoning request.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is when we open it up to comments from the staff, from the audience. We'll first start with a rezoning request. If you want to come forward and speak about this item, if you'll do me a favor and come up to the podium and get in line so we can sort of run through it as efficiently as possible. We'll give everybody 2 minutes. We've got a lovely clock over here to the side, I believe works. Is that still okay? So that'll help you notice that we've got 2 minutes for each discussion. And then once that is finished, then we'll have the applicant come up. So then the discussions will be closed then. So anybody that wants to speak to this item of rezoning for this property, item number 7. Okay, if you'll come forward. If you'll state your name, where you live, and then we'll kick off the 2 minutes.
My name is Wayne Cleveland, and I live in Riser Point, which is next door to the Reese Farm that's going to be developed. I've lived there for 4 years, and with the new city regulations there requiring bioponds as well as runoff ponds, collection ponds, and we have our full share of them. And on the south side of Del Rio Pike, we have 2 schools. And both of those schools drain through Riser Point area. consequently, Reese Farms is right next door to all of this. And if I may, could I get one of those from you? I thought And what I'm asking you to look at and do is delay this for 30 days. And the reason for this is we have a drainage areas, as you can see with the black area that runs between Reese Farm and Riser Point. And also we have 2 bioretention ponds. And if you go to picture B, you'll see there that there is a bioretention pond, and it has a drainage hole in the bottom of it, almost as big as I am. And this developed right after they put the pond in, and we had about a 2-foot standing water, and all the water went out through that hole rather than going out through the pipes that it was supposed to go to on the project. So they filled the hole with rocks and have put the dirt back over it. And now we have at least 2 wet springs below one of these bioretention ponds. So we're asking that Goodall find out the source of these, and we figure out how to stop them. And I have no doubt that they won't take care of this. Also, on picture C, if you will notice,
Make it really quick, please, if you'll have closing comments.
okay, C is Reese Creek, which runs at Riser Point. These are samples of water where Reese Creek runs into the Harpeth River. And you can see there's a dramatic difference, and these samples were taken within 10 feet of one another. So we've had a long-standing problem there of 2 years at Reese Creek. And then also, if you'll look at D, this is the pond that's between Reese Farm and Riser Point. And this was supposed to be finished in December of last year. We also had another notice it was going to be finished in May of this year, and this picture was taken 2 days ago. There is slime, there's water, there's everything standing, and this is supposed to be strictly a drainage pond. And we've had problems with the lake in the area all years ago, and we had like 100 mosquitoes in a 2-foot square area. So we're asking you just to delay this for 30 days till we can talk to Goodall and get a solution to these problems and when they're going to be taken care of, because they influence both subdivisions. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you. All right, anyone else want to speak to this item? Okay, I see none, then we'll move on to someone representing the applicant.
Hello, my name is Greg Gamble, representing the applicant. I'm here tonight with Maverick Green with Goodall Homes and Ryan McMaster as a civil engineer for the Reese Farms. I want to thank Mr. Cleveland and really all of the Riser Point neighbors. Mr. Cleveland has been in contact with us for several months, as a matter of fact, giving us regular updates on items and things throughout the Riser Point neighborhood that need to garner Goodall Homes' attention. Regarding the stormwater elements, Goodall Homes has been working very closely with the City of Franklin Engineering Department, Stormwater Management Department, in the creation of these bioretention areas, rain gardens, the creation of a wetland alongside, and the establishment of a wetland alongside the banks of the Harpeth River. These aren't things that happen overnight. These are areas that aren't compacted, can't be compacted, because they're infiltration areas. Sometimes there are places where it needs to go, we have to go back in, regrade, fix. Mr. Cleveland has brought this to our attention, and Goodall Homeson goes out and makes repairs. I'm not familiar with the photographs that you have tonight. I haven't seen them. This is part of the development process. All of the items that you're looking at are under bond with the City of Franklin. Can't be released, won't be released until the engineering department approves and signs off that they're stabilized and that they have been installed the way that they need to be installed. Goodall Homes is doing the right thing. And this is the normal course and process for the development. If you feel that we need to defer for 30 days for this, we're happy to. But we have been working with the City of Franklin staff to make sure that what needs to be done at Riser Point is done at Riser Point in a timely manner according to a normal development process. Tonight I would like to talk about the Reese Farm. I know that we're at the rezoning portion of this, but the rezoning portion and the request for the density is so closely tied with the development plan. I'd like to spend just a real brief few minutes talking about some 11 by 17s that I handed out earlier tonight. The first of which is the Envision Franklin document. And for this portion of our city, the Envision Franklin in Conservation Subdivision identifies the intersection of McHatcher and Del Rio Pike. It states that in this particular intersection, future uses may include limited local commercial and transitional offices to support the surrounding residential use. Longstanding in Franklin, in various neighborhoods, we encourage this incorporation of localized neighborhood commercial and localized office to create walkable destinations, to create pedestrian connections within this area. We know that there's going to be a greenway trail along McHatcher Parkway. We know that there's going to be a greenway trail along the Harpeth River. The fields at Reese Farms is providing a greenway connection from Del Rio Pike to McHatcher Parkway. The fields at Reese Farms is appropriately transitioning density from residential neighborhoods to its south to the McHatcher corridor. It's also locating appropriate residential density that's in direct walkable relationship to Poplar Grove and elementary and middle school, and then Freedom Middle School. So allowing families with children to move into these neighborhoods that have those walkable distances to the schools, as well as future walkable distances to localized commercial and localized office. If you'll turn to the next page, the next 11 by 17, we presented the master plan on the left to you at the Joint Conceptual Workshop. We heard several comments from you, and we've incorporated those comments and taken those comments into consideration with our revised master plan. Previously, we showed 144 homes. We had 65-foot wide street accessed lots. We had 34-foot wide alley loaded lots, and we had townhomes. We were asked to reconsider the lot configurations on the blocks. We've now removed all of the 34-foot wide single-family alley loaded lots. We now have a total of 132 homes within the neighborhood. We've retained the 65-foot street access lots. We have incorporated a mixture of 45-foot wide and 40-foot alley-loaded lots, the 45-foot wides being on the ends, the 40-foot lots being on the interior of the street, so that you do get architectural diversity when you're driving down the road. We also have incorporated in the removal of the pond that's there today and are proposing a stream restoration. According to a city engineer, this is the first private stream restoration that they're aware of, especially in the city of Franklin. And so we're excited to be able to participate with that. We're going to be working with Cumberland Region Compact on this stream restoration and working with them as a not-for-profit and really a tool to make sure it's done the right way. In addition to restoring the stream by removing the pond, we're reducing the amount of 100-year floodplain that affects both this property and Riser Point. So we're excited to be able to contribute to that effort as well. We're dedicating 13,597 square feet of right-of-way for Del Rio Pike. I mentioned that we're constructing the Greenway Trail, and it shows up on this graphic on the right. The Greenway Trail will go from McHatcher Parkway and its Greenway Trail down to Riser Point, and will offer pedestrian connections all the way to Del Rio Pike and to the schools. We're extending the sidewalk along the frontage of Del Rio Pike that will connect over to Poplar Grove. If you turn to the next page, really quickly, these are the Del Rio Pike improvements that will be a part of this development plan. None of these improvements qualify for reimbursement from the arterial road and collector road impact fees, so the improvements we're talking about here are above and beyond the fees that are paid for traffic impact. The developer is improving 0.2 miles of roadway, bringing it up to city standards for Del Rio Pike. Currently in the CIP from Poplar Grove Elementary School to the point where Del Rio Pike turns north to Mac Hatcher is 0.8 miles. So only 0.6 miles would be left for city improvement sometime in the future in the CIP. The arterial road impact fee and collector road impact fees listed over on the right side are in addition to these road improvements totaling $883,000. Mac Hatcher Parkway is expected to open in 2021. Our development schedule for just the first phase, just the first 53 homes, is that design and construction would take the year 2019. In the spring of 2020, the first home would be sold at a rate of 3 homes per month, which is about what we're seeing right now. That could potentially slow down, but at an aggressive market, we're looking at about 3 homes per month. So that the very last home would be completed the summer of 2021, right before Mac Hatcher Parkway is expected to open. So the timing is ideal, and the road improvements are appropriate and are equal to the impact of the development being proposed. I know that's more than just the rezoning effort, but I did want to explain and give a little bit more background considering the request for the rezoning to SDR. Again, Maverick and Ryan McMaster and I are here to answer any questions that you may have.
All right,
Thank you.
All right, again, a reminder that we're just voting on the rezoning recommendation to BOMA. Do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 8, consideration of resolution 2018-96, a resolution approving a development plan for the Fields at Reese Farms PUD subdivision for property located north of Del Rio Pike and west of Reese Drive. Staff?
Item 8 is a request for the approval of a development plan for the Fields at Reese Farm PUD subdivision. The proposed subdivision is 43.97 acres and is planned to contain 64 single-family lots, 68 townhouses, and 3 open space lots. The Fields at Reese Farm PUD subdivision, again, is within the Conservation Subdivision Design concept designated in Envision Franklin. And within the development are proposed a mix of townhouse and single-family residential units. The Conservation Subdivision Design Standard in Envision Franklin also notes that new development should preserve at least 50% open space targeted towards scenic vistas, greenways, pastures, trails, woodlands, or other areas that contain scenic character or maintain scenic character. In relation, the applicant is pursuing the restoration of a stream that bisects the property, eliminating a farm pond and dam that is within an impounded tributary of the Harpeth River. The inline pond produces several negative impacts, and guidance from the City of Franklin, the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, and the Army Corps of Engineers encourage the removal of the pond and restoration of the stream. These actions are consistent with the intent of the Conservation Subdivision concept and will result in a community amenity that preserves and enhances some of the natural character of the site. Due to a condensed review and submittal period, there were some staff concerns that have been addressed with the applicant. Staff is supportive of those resultant changes and have added those as conditions of approval. These changes were minor in scale at this stage of a development plan, and the proposed revisions do not change the development street layout or general location of proposed dwelling units. The lot sizes on the periphery of the proposed development are comparable to those nearby subdivisions along Del Rio Pike and meet the guidelines of Envision Franklin. The applicant has proposed lot widths of 40 feet for some lots, which have been dispersed within the middle of select blocks. This provides for lot width diversity, another encouragement of Envision Franklin. However, single-family lots with widths of 40 feet are narrower than those supported by the Conservation Subdivision Design concept, and therefore, staff must recommend disapproval due to this inconsistency.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this particular item, the development plan? All right, I see none. Is there someone representing the applicant?
Hello, my name is Greg Gamble. I'm representing the applicant, and we are in agreement with all of staff's conditions. In Envision Franklin, it does state that the minimum alley loaded lot is 45 feet. We understand that. We're proposing a master plan here today that has greater economic mix within the neighborhood. In Envision Franklin, it also states that in conservation subdivision, townhomes are not an acceptable type of home, with the exception of this quadrant, so that neighborhoods in conservation subdivision in this quadrant can be developed, keeping the character and qualities of West Haven. Well, West Haven has alley-loaded lots that are as small as 33 feet. We believe that in this quadrant, the 40-foot wide alley-loaded lot that we're proposing is in keeping with the character of West Haven, in keeping with the transition of the economics within the neighborhood from townhomes through the single-family lots. And happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve. I guess in terms of, since staff has recommended disapproval, we need to have a expanded discussion about the approval.
It's Christmas.
Okay. Probably need a little more detail if we can.
It's Christmas.
Okay,
I'm happy with it.
all right. Any other discussion?
Well,
Ms. Peterson?
I had
Go ahead.
stated at the conceptual meeting that I would support the diversity in the lot width, so I will support that.
Okay,
Mr.
Right.
Chairman,
yes,
I'd like to amend the motion, please.
okay.
I'd like to move for approval with staff conditions.
Approval of staff conditions, meaning,
Add the staff conditions to the approval.
okay. So explain to me that
Yeah, I don't know.
what you see is the difference then.
The approval does not include staff the recommendations of approval that staff has attached to this. And by not attaching that to it, it could be left off. So I want to make sure the conditions are with the approval, so they go forward with the plan.
Okay. So just to be clear, if that's the case, staff, make sure I'm understanding this, make sure that would be approval of the plan as presented
With staff conditions.
with conditions, but the conditions recommend disapproval.
No, conditions of approval.
That's right, thank you. Okay, all right.
I'm just attaching the conditions of approval to the approval.
Okay, so there is a legitimate
Confused.
amendment to the main motion. Is there a second to that?
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. In discussion about the amendment to the main motion. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Just for the amendment, yeah.
Yeah,
Just for the amendment.
just for the amendment. Okay, so we're back to the main amendment, or main motion, amended as just approved. Any other discussion about the main motion?
Well, there is a difficulty with the staff recommending disapproval.
Okay,
And even though it is mentioned that there, in this area, there might be townhomes with smaller lot widths and everything, I still think that that's
So for
a
clar-
reason that they would recommend disapproval, and I will probably go with them.
okay.
So for
I'm sorry,
clarification from
say-
staff, you're recommending disapproval because the lot sizes do not meet Envision Franklin.
And
And
that's
I-
why,
I'm sorry.
Go
And
ahead,
then I'm
Marcia.
sorry, I did not understand in what you said, I'm sorry.
I said that the staff has recommended disapproval because of the lot widths with the townhomes, and I said for that reason, I would agree with the staff recommendation. to
And I
disapprove.
struggle with this too, because we go through the whole thing with Envision Franklin, and we discussed and we just passed it, and I know it's a living, breathing document, and they went back and they looked at, and they did make major changes to that, and I'm one of the very ones that say, as soon as we do this, everybody that comes in with a plan from now on is gonna ask for this very same change. And I'm gonna say no, right? Because of that very thing, because I wanna discourage this. I really, really do. And I commend Gamble and Associates, because the plan is a great plan. It really is a good plan. But I think with the land that they were looking at, it was hard for them to meet what Envision Franklin said. And for that reason, I'm gonna have to vote no too, because whoever brings in, developers, listen, you bring in a plan that doesn't fit Envision Franklin, I'm gonna vote no. I want you to know, because they're gonna come in with it, and that's the only reason, because I really wanna vote yes for this. But that's the only reason I'm gonna vote against it, is because of that, because I'm gonna go with what staff was recommending on this.
Marcia, I understand what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying as well. No doubt that there wasn't the drill down intensity for each property in this community
Yeah.
that each of these applicants do.
Yeah.
This is a very 30,000 foot type document, so I believe it's our job to interpret the overall goals of the city
Right,
with a
absolutely.
specific piece of property.
I agree.
I believe this applicant has done a great job of mixing the lot sizes and creating something that we can all be proud of, and I would support it
Yeah.
from that perspective. I understand
see
Envision
what I'm
Franklin, I do, and I totally understand that, but again, it's a guideline
It is.
to guide us to the right final solution, and
I just kind of want to be, I also want to be the damper, because I know this is going to pass, there's enough here for this pass, but I also want to be kind of the damper for someone who's looking at this to consider that, you know, Marcia and Ann are probably also going to give us a little bit of a little, it's not just going to get passed through, so that's what I'm here to stand for, but
And I don't
understand.
think that's what we do. I think we look at each
yeah.
applicant
I want
and
them
look
to
at
know
and
that we
weigh all
do,
the
but I want them to
options.
know that we
Yeah.
do, that we just don't
Yeah.
run it
No,
through.
we don't do
okay.
that.
Roger?
So, and relative to Marcia's statement too, the planning staff made a comment last month at the work session that there had been sufficient numbers of questions about these higher density, narrower lots that we might it may put us in a position of needing to determine whether we needed to amend Envision Franklin to allow that. And I don't think that's not where I want to go, I guess, for the same reason that Marcia expressed that, because I don't want it to make an automatic.
Right.
From this day forward, we always approve those narrow lots. It should still be a topic of discussion, and it should relate to the specific conditions of that site. And I know this is a tough site. We talked last month at the work session about the pond, the lake amenity, which is a future disaster, and to take it out and to reestablish, good meander to the creek is the absolute best thing in the world you can do for not just the developer, but for the future residents of this neighborhood, because leaving an impounded lake on a farm pond, if you will, on a property like this will create maintenance issues going forward that are extremely expensive to fix. Long after the developer's gone, it'll be the HOA that's in city offices wanting money to help dredge out this pond, which is now full of silt. So I appreciate that is the direction that this has gone, and so I think it represents a good effort at working with what you've got. So we'll support this, but again, no change to Envision Franklin from my perspective relative to going with smaller and smaller lots.
No?
Well, I was supporting it for another reason, because of the opportunity to have lower price points, because we all know the price of homes in Williamson County continue to go up and up and up, and having smaller lots is going to give us the ability to have different price points in this development. So that's one of the reasons that I'm supporting it.
And I want to
They
add,
still won't be affordable. I mean, they'll be affordable to somebody, but not the affordable
There'll be more
that we
reasonable
described.
price
But
Right.
having smaller ones would give us that opportunity.
I want to add too that guidelines, visions, all those are generally, you got to put a number down, right?
Yes.
So where did 45 come from? Was there intensive study on 46 was good, 44 was bad? And so we hit 45. I don't know.
Good point, man.
So it's probably worth looking at some examples as a commission for us to investigate what other folks are doing, and is it appropriate, is it not? To Roger's point, there's going to be places where it is and others where there's not.
Right.
So that's where we've got to be that body that filters these projects through the Envision Franklin, but not necessarily, it's not a blanket
Right.
statement, in my opinion.
But I'd just like for it to be known that we actually do pay some attention to what we have rewritten down.
Sure.
We do pay
Yeah, I agree.
attention to.
I hope
Scott?
they know
And I would
that.
like to echo Alma's comments on this too, because by having a larger lot, you've got a larger footprint. You have higher land costs, which requires a larger home, which requires a higher price. And with home prices in Franklin over $500,000, well, the city of Williamson County over $500,000 median price right now, we need to look at ways to bring some more reasonably priced homes back into the area. And by doing smaller lots, that enables to build a smaller home, which has a less cost to it than a larger home.
Sure.
So I will support this.
And I understand that, but I'd like for us to be a little real and not really call this affordable or
Well-
anything. Yeah.
It's not
I
affordable, it's
said
more
that it's
it's
not
more
affordable,
reasonable.
but you have different price points. You have an opportunity
Okay.
to have different.
Okay, Ms. Ann.
I just have a question. About what size are these 65-foot width lots and what size are the 45-foot lots?
The lot size or the house size?
The lot size.
Okay.
No, I just want to know the lot size.
Sure, I'm happy to answer that question. The smallest of the 65-foot wide lots is 125 foot deep. The 45-foot wide lots are also 125 foot deep.
So same depth.
Mhm.
Depth same.
And
But they're still, what, half again, 50% bigger, something like that?
the total square footage,
Mm-hmm. Not quite.
so the 65-foot wide lot would be 8,125 square feet.
Mhm.
The 45-foot wide lot is 5,625 square feet.
All right, is there any other discussion? Ms.
Yeah.
Peters, anything more?
One
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
It seems like this applicant did exactly what was directed to him from our work session.
Right, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I see no reason not to support this tonight.
Okay, thank you.
One more question.
Go ahead, Roger.
So the plan shows a improvement of the front roadway to a 3-lane across the front of this property. And one of the points that I raised last month at the work session was over just kind of generally the size of the roads, or Del Rio in particular, as it goes out west and then turns north and eventually intersects the intersection of where the future Mac Hatcher Parkway will cut across. And so is, from the staff's perspective and the engineering perspective, is the 3-lane road across the front of this part, is that consistent with what we would ultimately need to see on this roadway through the whole extent of Del Rio Pike?
Yes, it's, the ultimate build-out is a 2-lane roadway section with turn lanes as needed, and the traffic impact analysis required turn lanes at each of the entrances. So ultimately, the applicant decided just, and with your tapers and everything that you build in, you end up with a 3-lane section through there. So it is sufficient for this development, yes.
Okay, great, thanks.
All right, any other comments before we vote? All right, see none, so all in favor of the motion as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No, 2 noes, motion passes. All right, move to item number 9. Consideration of ordinance 2018-61, ordinance to rezone 58.58 acres from specific development variety district to specific development variety district 10.48 for the property located at the intersection of Cool Springs Boulevard and East McEwen Drive. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This property is located at all 4 corners of the intersection of East McEwen Drive and Cool Springs Boulevard. The intended zoning for this parcel, for these parcels, is specific development variety district, SDX 10.48/42875. A separate resolution 2018-105 accompanies this rezoning for the corresponding development plan. Envision Franklin recommends a neighborhood mixed-use design concept for this area. The accompanying development plan meets the intent of the neighborhood mixed-use design concept as outlined in the development plan. Staff recommends the item favorably to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
All right, thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if there, anybody that wants to speak to this item, if you'll come forward, this is concerning the rezoning for this property. We'll entertain anybody that wants to speak about this. All right, if not, then we'll move on. Anyone representing the applicant, please come forward.
I'm Joe Parks with Parks Development Group, and this is Craig Balcom, also with Parks Development Group and representing the applicant. First off, we'd like to thank you for allowing us to bring Avalon Franklin before the board. We've worked very hard with the city, planning, engineering, fire, parks, and water management departments. In addition, in combination with Alderwoman Berger, we have had several neighborhood meetings, and as a result of those meetings, we've made several changes to the plan since you've seen it the first time. Wanted to bring up a few of the changes just to give you some of the broad changes. We removed a big box section of the project, which was planned as grocery, and replaced it with smaller retail centers. We changed the main entry point from off of Cool Springs Boulevard to provide better access. We found that traffic signals were warranted in front of the Avalon existing residential development, which is going to greatly help them with access to Cool Springs Boulevard. We moved the fuel station, which was originally on the southeast corner, to the southwest corner to get it further away from the neighborhoods. And we changed the orientation of the mixed-use residential to hide more of the parking structures so they wouldn't be seen from outside the community. So for a quick background, we've studied the mixed-use projects across the country for several years. And we've been looking for some of the better projects that we could find to take some inspiration from. And we found a project in Alpharetta, Georgia called Avalon. Oddly enough, they have the same name that we have, but we had our name first. In addition, their architect was Wakefield Beasley, who has worked with us since 2003 on this project and worked with us for 30 years. So again, they managed to pick our architect. But it's given us a great background on trying to figure out how to make the best mixed-use design that creates the best community that we can possibly do. So I just want to thank you for your consideration, and I'm here to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion?
Move for approval with staff conditions.
Is there a second? No, we already had the open discussion. We'll have a second discussion on the next item. Any other, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I'm looking here, so here, and let me make sure, hold on, I'm on the right. Oh geez, hold on. So here, let me make sure this is right. So the revision, we're talking about a revision here to this plan. We're going from 172 attached units to 122 attached units and 492 multifamily. So we're up in staff, I'm making sure this is the right place to discuss this.
Those are the correct numbers.
So we're adding to Avalon 442 additional units with this, in this? on
Yes,
this
the
plan?
original development plan, which is included in your packets, specifically isolated the residential to the uppermost quadrant of the northwest quadrant. The revision integrates more of the residential into the retail complex throughout the northwest quadrant. So there's both townhomes and attached residential in the form of apartments or condos above retail.
So with this item here, we would add an additional 442 units,
Correct.
492 multifamily. Okay, so I got a problem. We need to say that right now. Of course, you knew I was gonna have a problem with this. My question, and I'll say this, how is this, have we, traffic, well, we heard at a meeting earlier today, it took somebody 45 minutes to get from one part of Cool Springs to the other part. I'm wanting to know, because staff, so the recommendation for this was favorable, okay? So I'm always concerned with traffic, schools, and all of that. So this was based off, your favorable recommendation was based off of how it fit into Envision Franklin?
Envision Franklin, and also a joint review by the engineering team, the transportation team within the city, and an independent external consultant hired by the city of Franklin, who did extensive modeling using two different systems to understand how the traffic would work in this general area.
So that they felt that there would be no that traffic would not be adversely affected by this and schools and all that, that everything would just be fine with this additional.
Traffic will be adversely affected by this and any development that comes through the area. When we do a traffic impact analysis, we also look at all of the background growth traffic and anything that has been approved that hasn't been built yet, Ovation being one of the big players in that, Franklin Park and all those things. So there are improvements required by this development. There are improvements that were integrated into the roundabout improvements that the city is about to go to bid on. Those improvements can only do so much. You still will end up with significant delays in the Cool Springs area just due to the densities that we're seeing in an urban environment like we have. So yes, there will be delays and there will be impacts.
What is the current, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you know, what's the current, what do we have now? A, B, C, D, E, what's the current? What's the current?
It actually functions at a C, the overall intersection.
So it's already C now, right? Okay,
It
so,
says it's gonna be at failure.
and it's gonna be a, what's it gonna be? We're gonna have DF, or we're gonna have D?
Overall E, and it's a failed intersection of that.
Okay, so I will not be supporting that, and so, and you have my reason already. I don't have to say anymore. Thanks.
All right, any other discussion?
I had a
Now,
question.
remember, we're focusing on the rezoning.
I know.
Yes, ma'am.
Just-
Yeah, I had a question. When does the estimates as far as the number of students, we used to get some information on that. Is this too early in the stage, or we don't seem to get that anymore from the schools? Do you all check with the schools and as
There
the
is a
information?
separate notice that goes to the schools. We do not require that as part of the development plan with any, that I'm aware of, with any residential.
Right, we provide the number of units to the school system so that they can be made aware of any development coming, but we don't give estimates as to how many school children we think it would generate.
But they don't respond back with any numbers?
They do not, no.
Well, Mr. Parks, do you have any
I can give
numbers
you,
on
I
that?
can give you a couple of observations. So on the Avalon project in Alpharetta, they have 101 for-sale units that are in that development. And they have 526 multifamily units that are integrated in the development. So it's part of the mixed-use development. And we checked with them, and they told us they have 8 school-aged children in the 526 units. So what they're seeing is that more people have moved into that part of the development, which is a good bit more active. It's a good bit, so it's odd, it's because it's a mixture of young people and people my age. People who have moved down in house sizes, they wanted a more integrated environment, they wanted to be able to go walk out to the restaurant, go to coffee shops, do all those sort of things. So they're seeing the dynamic is a good bit different. I think the other thing I would just say is, if you look at Cool Springs and you look at Carruthers and you look at the office buildings, Franklin Park, Mars Pet Care, all of the Carruthers area, those are already approved office buildings. People are going to work in those office buildings. They're going to live somewhere. They're going to live north, south, east, and west. When we are able to develop a development that's less than a mile from where they are, a lot of people will work in those office buildings and drive home or walk home or take the trolley home or whatever they do and get less than 1 mile away. Otherwise, I think you'll end up with the same number of people driving straight down that road through the roundabout and continuing on to the east to more housing development that's on to the east. So I think part of the whole urban planning concept is to get people where they are working, closer to where they're living, and it creates a better, and where they're shopping and where they can eat. So it creates an environment, and I think it takes some stress off the roads. They're right, as you continue to develop, there are going to be more people and more people living there, more cars, et cetera. But that's the general observations we have as we study these
Okay.
projects.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, the motion exists for approval. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, the ayes have it. Item number 10, Resolution 2018-105, a resolution approving a revised development plan for Avalon Square PUD subdivision with 7 modifications of development standards for the property located at the intersection of Cool Springs Boulevard and East McEwen Drive. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
A concept plan for this site was approved via ordinance 2004-61, with final approval occurring at the September 15th, 2004 Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting. Envision Franklin recommends a neighborhood mixed-use design concept for all four corners of the intersection of East McEwen Drive and Cool Springs Boulevard. The neighborhood mixed-use design concept provides a diverse mix of high-activity uses with a connected and walkable block layout. These centers and corridors should have coordinated development patterns at a pedestrian scale with high-quality architecture, plaza, sidewalks, and pedestrian and bicycle amenities to activate the street and connect these gathering places to the residential neighborhoods they support. This development meets the intent of Envision Franklin by including a mix of housing types, including residential above retail, multifamily residential, and townhome residential units. The most intensive of these units are interdispersed into a mix of neighborhood-scale retail buildings and uses. The townhomes are clustered and placed closest to the existing residential neighborhoods of Ashton Park and Village at Avalon. Less intensive retail uses are placed on the south side of East McEwen Drive, adjacent to the existing Garden Club Court neighborhood. A total of 7 modification of standards requests are accompanying this development plan. Modifications 1 through 6 are individual wall heights for retaining walls, and modification of 7 is for the facing of a wall composition material. There's a separate exhibit in your packet which includes the locations of each one of the 6 retaining walls with specific information on those walls.
When we get to that point, can you pull those up individually and we'll deal with that one at a time?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, now, if you want to speak, this is the opportunity. If you'll come forward, this is for anybody that wants to speak about the development plan for this project. Again, state your name, where you live, and you've got 2 minutes, and we'll appreciate hearing from you.
My name is Bill Hambley. I live on Conservatory in Garden Club Estates. And really, it's just a question, what we understand is with the modifications that have recently been approved is that there are 5 driveway cuts off of Garden Club Court Drive into would be the southeast section of the development, and originally there were 3, and that seems to us to be adding a whole lot more just through traffic that's going to be made from Garden Club Court Drive over to McEwen, and would just like some clarification if that in fact is true from site plans we've seen recently.
Okay, thank you. We'll deal with that.
Yep.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name's Linda Hambley, and I also live at 202 Conservatory Drive. We walk that area a lot, and several of our neighbors do as well. And already, because of the traffic going through the roundabout, which people don't know how to use, we've come close to being hit numerous times, either myself or my 4-legged child as well. Until the phase 4 of McEwen is finished, you're adding more congestion to an already cluster of an intersection. What are you going to do to to Garden Club Court to make it so that it's not, when it accesses onto Oxford Glen, that is not going to become another traffic congested area like the roundabout is that is just up from there, and what's going to protect us as residents and walkers in that neighborhood or in that whole area from being run over?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your question. Anybody else? All right, if there's nobody else, then I'll close the discussion and we'll move on to the applicant.
Again, I'm Joe Parks with Parks Development Group, representing the applicant, and here to answer any questions.
Okay. I would love if you could address those 2 questions that came up in the discussion from the public.
There are a couple of things. One, let me address the last one first. There is a sidewalk that's going to be placed down Garden Club Court on the north side of the road that goes all the way down to the intersection.
I don't know that I can completely address the access across the road and the difficulties of getting across the road. I think it's a little bit more of a city road type function, so I'm not sure that I can address that one. And the first one,
The five driveway
the
cuts.
five, I need to look at the plan.
Yeah.
So here essentially we have 1, 2, and then all 3 of these are really associated with the daycare. One is a function where you can come through and in and out of the daycare garage area, and the other is for the parking lot at the daycare to allow them to do, to have circulation around there. So there are 5, but 3 of them are really associated with just the building that's at the end of the street.
Okay.
So that question was correct.
All right, thank you. Any other comments before we go to a motion? Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll move for approval with staff conditions.
Okay. There's a second?
I'll second.
All right, moved and seconded. Before we start discussion, I want to kind of go down one by one on the modification standard requests. So if, Josh, if you can pull up item 1 and let's discuss that one and
Yes.
what's proposed.
Modification of standards request, number 1, location A. The City of Franklin zoning ordinance specifies a maximum retaining wall height of 16 feet if divided into 2 walls. The applicant has requested 2 walls, 10 feet and 8 feet, with a maximum total height of 18 feet. As grading must be kept to a minimum under the TVA line easement, staff and the applicant agree there are no other solutions other than a modification of standards for this location. Staff recommends approval of modification of standards number 1. It's location A shown on the map.
All right, can I get a amendment to the main motion that addresses modification standard number 1?
So moved with staff's approval.
Okay, moved and seconded for approval. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. Modification number 2, please.
City of Franklin zoning ordinance specifies a maximum retaining wall height of 16 feet. The applicant is proposing 2 walls, 10 foot and 7 feet, with a maximum total height of 17 feet in 2 walls. As grading must be kept to a minimum under the TVA line easement, staff and the applicant agree there are no other solutions other than a modification of standards request for this location. Staff recommends approval of this modification of standards request.
Okay. Do I have another amendment to the main motion?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, number 3.
Again, modification of standards request for height. This is 1 wall, 18 feet high, integrated into the refuse collection building. The structure will be highly visible from East McEwen Drive, as there is no landscape buffer or buildings to be placed in front of this highly visible corner. This is location C on the map. Staff recommends disapproval of this modification of standards request.
Okay. Do I have a motion relative to item number 3?
So move.
Second.
So moved as what?
Move for disapproval of modification number,
Okay,
what number was
just
that?
making sure.
3.
3.
Okay, so moved and seconded.
Do we need to have a discussion, ask the applicant about that again?
If you would like to address a question to the
Could you
applicant,
explain
glad to.
us, please?
Yes, I certainly understand where staff is coming from, and we've had some conversation with them already. This building is a trash refuse building, and so what it is actually an enclosed building that's conditioned, and trash throughout the center is brought to that point, so it can be in a compactor. What we think is the best thing to do would be to take the building and pivot it over so that it is adjacent to the retail building there, and it all becomes part of that building. And I think that staff is generally in agreement that that's a good workable solution, and we can make that.
You're okay with it?
Okay, all right, any other discussion about this amendment?
Just a follow-up.
Sure, go ahead. Yes, please.
So by rotating that building so that it's more in line with the retail adjacent to it, Does that reduce the amount of the wall height that you need at that point?
It won't reduce the amount of wall height, but we'll have to have a similar condition that is behind the retail building, which is the retail building has a certain foundation wall, and then there's a retaining wall behind it, but those retaining walls don't get above the height that's limited by the code.
You realize my motion is to disprove this,
Yeah, that's what
right?
I was gonna say.
Okay,
We should
so,
add
all
this.
right, I'm just making sure.
Well, I'll just,
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion? So we're back to a disapproval motion of item number 3. All in favor of disapproval, say aye.
aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. So the third amendment to the main motion is disapproval of the requested modification standard. Item number 4, staff.
Again, retaining wall height 16 feet. The applicant is proposing 2 walls, 9 feet and 8 feet, with a maximum height of 17 total feet. The placement of the traffic signal at this intersection and minimum vehicle stacking required for the intersection necessitated the driveway length and size, preventing the applicant from meeting the retaining wall height. Staff recommends approval of this modification of standards request number 4. This is location D on the screen.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Move for approval?
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, modification 5.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, retaining wall height, 16 feet is the city limit. The applicant has requested 2 walls, 10 feet and 7 feet, with a maximum height of 17 feet. Maintaining the structural stability of the existing fire station lot and the required minimum roadway intersection spacing requirements on Cool Springs Boulevard condense the land needed to comply with the zoning ordinance standard. Staff recommends approval of this modification of standards request number 5, location E on the exhibit.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Move,
I'm sorry.
move
have
for
a motion?
approval.
Roger moved for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Mike seconded. All right, any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, item number 6.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The modification of standards number 6 is location F1 and F2 on the map. Again, our maximum retaining wall height is 16 feet if divided into 2 walls. The applicant has requested 2 walls, 12 feet and 8 feet, with a maximum total height of 20 feet. There has been a revision to this to 24 feet total within 2 walls. So we'll have that corrected on the staff report. With a maximum height of 24 total feet in 2 walls, each being 12 feet. The required minimum roadway intersection spacing on Cool Springs Boulevard and East McEwen Drive necessitated a retaining wall construct any driveway entrance into this quadrant of the development. The staff and applicant agree the retaining walls are a way to minimize the disturbance to the existing hill and existing residential units in Avalon along Beauchamp Circle, Guinevere Retreats Court, and Countess Nicole Court. Staff recommends approval of modification of standards request number 6, or location F1 and F2 as amended on the map.
All right, do I have a motion on this amendment?
Move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roger seconded. All right, any discussion on this amendment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Last item, number 7.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The last modification of standards request is number 7, wall composition material. The City of Franklin zoning ordinance specifies segmental retaining walls shall match one of the primary colors of the retaining wall. The applicant requests to use split rock retaining walls in lieu of segmental block. Engineering staff has no objections over the long-term stability or drainage issues with the use of this material over segmental blocks. Planning staff does not have sufficient information on the appearance or aesthetics of these walls to recommend approval of this deviation from our current standards. The applicant has provided information to the board, to the planning commission. It's in front of you now. Staff recommends disapproval of modification of standards request number 7, but did not have sufficient information at the drafting of this staff report to fully understand what this retaining wall would look like and what this modification of standards request would mean.
Okay. Is there a motion on this last item?
Move for disapproval of modification of standards number 7.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Is this the product for all of the walls?
No, here's what will happen in this area. We believe that is going to be solid rock in that area. And so what you would do is typically you would shoot a split face wall and excavate it out. I understand the city does not want to have an interstate looking wall in the neighborhood. So one thing that we've done, I just wanted to give you an example of it, is at Nashville West, we did something similar and we put a vegetated wall in, and it just basically makes it a green environment, which we found it to be a much nicer looking area. It makes it a lot more green. It makes it cooler. So I don't know exactly how you address this in your forum, but this is what we would expect to do if we do run into a solid split face rock wall where we can actually shoot a face in it rather than trying to build a retaining wall in that location.
You know, there are a lot of architectural ways, obviously, Mike, you know, that we've seen walls like that, especially up north, you know, that utilize that limestone rock as a face. And the fact that you can go in and add some columns, plant the green planting and still come up with a wall, I think the wall would be, to add a segment wall would take away from the look of it than having a natural split face wall there. So I think that there's probably more information, like staff mentioned, that needs to be reviewed that could possibly be a fit for such an intense limestone bluff right there. So, you know, I'm not sure how we want to address it.
I'm gonna defer to you guys on this. I'm not an expert at all on this. Staff, I don't,
Yeah, I wonder if this is a decision that has to be made today?
yeah, does it?
Okay.
You guys are more
So we could
professional. What's your
recommend to
thoughts?
BOMA take up this issue, and as far as the design standard of it, is that possible?
I mean, I don't have a problem approving something if it looks like this green wall.
Oh, yeah, it does look good.
I definitely wouldn't approve a
But what I don't want to
wall.
see is a kudzu growing on it.
Right, that's the only thing.
That's against the law.
You know, that's
Yeah,
what,
that's right.
that's what, the problem is you're long gone, and then all of a sudden
Yeah, that's right.
takes it over. And we should have had split face rock there with
That's
weed
true.
killer.
Well, the way I understand, staff help me out, but if we approve as a disapproval of the proposed material as you know it, it seems like it would be an ongoing discussion and not necessarily be the end of
Right.
a solution one way or the other. I don't think this needs to be the hinge point for the whole
Right.
project.
I don't, and I might suggest that they provide more information with more
Yes.
description about it versus a
Exactly.
single
A
picture at
Right.
BOMA when it's discussed then.
Right, okay,
All right.
all right.
So the motion is still for disapproval. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. So we have a 7 amended motion. So we're back to the main motion. Any discussion on the main motion?
You know, I'm sure there's some discussion about the traffic, ongoing traffic, and what the improvements are. I know someone in the audience knows more about it than I do. Our alderman, that's her ward. Would you like to speak about it, maybe? Or could you speak about it, Beverly?
If you'd like to, yeah, I'll open the floor for you. But this will be the end of the conversation, okay?
You're concerned about the roundabout in the traffic, and I know we've talked about, some people have talked about the access to the roundabout and crossing it, because we do have a lot of walkers in this area. I've actually been in some meetings lately. I'm bringing forth some initiatives to make that whole area more walkable and safe, and we're going to be coming to the board, coming to the Planning Commission as well, with some initiatives, I think, that we want to go forward with in this area to make pedestrian crossings a lot better in that area. So we're working on that right now. And that's coming, and it'll be a few years before this development gets started and opened, so we'll have time to get that done. The other thing is the roundabout, we have 2 dedicated right-hand turn lanes coming to the roundabout, and I do believe probably, anybody know, I think it's February, we're going to get that started. The design is finished, and we're just waiting on a few other preliminary things to happen.
We're actually adding some additional improvements to that plan that were recommended in the traffic study that came with this development. So
Okay.
we're adding to the design, so it's going to take a little bit more time.
It
But
is.
It's very soon.
Okay, so it's coming shortly after 2019 here starts. But when you're traveling east on McEwen and you come to the roundabout, there's going to be a dedicated right-hand turn lane that takes you up the hill on Oxford Glen to the McKay's Mill, to the Garden Club Estates and McKay's Mill subdivisions. When you are coming from the east side, Wilson Pike, coming west, traveling west towards the roundabout, there will be a dedicated right-hand turn lane headed north, going like up towards the Marriott, going up towards the interstate. So there's a dedicated right-hand turn lane that will be added there as well. There's a lot of improvements coming to the roundabout, even some more that I'm not going to mention here tonight because that's still in the works. And then more improvements for pedestrian crossings, so significant plans for that as well that hopefully we can bring to you here at the beginning of middle of 2019. So that's, hopefully that helps.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right, any other discussion on the main motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
All right, motion passes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have ended another year. Can you believe it? A lot has happened in this city. Thank you guys for your service, and I've enjoyed being a part of it as a colleague, so thank you guys. Y'all enjoy your holidays, and we'll see you in January. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Second.
Seconded? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.